Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today you join me at our cloudy Forest Edge kart circuit, and today we're just testing the KZ. As you know, we've got a brand new frame, well, almost brand new frame. So today we're just going to be checking it out, making sure it runs well in preparation for the final round of the British Kart Championships in Manchester at Wigan Three Sisters. Right, so as you can see, the car is fully assembled, ready for practice session 1. We do have brand new brake pads in the front and rear brakes, which means we will have to bed them in for a couple laps first, but then after that we can start properly driving. Let's go into practice 1. So on the grid now, ready to go out. In front of me is Charlie Turner, ex-British champion, second place in the championship this year so far. To the side of me, you can't currently see, but it's a supercar. So we are going to go out just behind him, and there's a couple people behind. Obviously we've got brand new brake pads on, which does mean we do have to bed them in this lap. So into the first corner, you're going to see my brakes lock up like that, just showing how powerful the new brakes are. And there we are, Charlie Turner in front of it, and there we have a first spinner of the session. We're going to pass the British champion, obviously just running in his engine, I believe, and we're going to go full push, even on these cold tyres and these not fully bedded in brake pads. Starting our first proper lap now, and already there is a second spinner of the session, avoiding him and obviously trying to carry on with some decent lap times, although there is quite a lot of yellow flags around on the track currently, as the first spinner is still already here, parked on the exit of turn 4. Now coming down the straight, I think it's reaching speeds of up to about 90 miles per hour. And in front of me, I believe, is a supercar as well. Opening up now onto the second lap, still yellow flags as that car is still stranded there on the outside of the track into turn 1. But now, as you can see, we are gaining on this 250 supercar, so hopefully we can make a move on him coming down the straight in a sec. As you're going to see, the Charles Leclerc car to the left already still stranded, but we are going to be right on the rear tail of this supercar in a second. Forwarding on a couple laps, we are still right on the tail of this supercar, and now another KZ has got in the way, which means we can now push and be right on the gearbox of the 96 car just in front of us, trying to make a move in a couple of laps time. But he does seem to be quite a bit faster than us, especially as this is, I believe, his home track. I'm not fully sure on the supercar and the championships, but I do believe this is one of his regular tracks. But we are going to be right on the gearbox of him again down the straight, and we're going to look down the inside. But I am sort of having this issue with my brakes, as it wants to pull to the left, which I'm not too sure about, and I just want to be a bit cautious about that. He does seem to be quite fast, so more yellow flags around the circuit as we've got a third spinner of the session. And as you can see in front, there is a couple of cars as we're going to pass the first one, and he actually ends up pitting, so that turned out a bit of a boring fight, so that was all for nothing. But that does lead us with a couple of cars in front that we still have to pass. Forwarding on later in the lap, as you can see, we're right on the gearbox of another supercar, and we're going to look to pass him in a second. And as you can see in front, driving slowly, is the British champion Charlie Turner, and he's actually going to join the fight just behind me. So we're going to look to pass this 84 supercar down the inside here, but it's just still not close enough, so it is a bit tough. But we are actually going to end up getting him down the straight here, as I believe he's slowing down to let me pass. I'm not 100% sure. But that now leads us with Charlie Turner behind it. I believe he is still running in, so I don't believe he is an issue in this session. Onto a new lap now, and as you can see in front of me is actually another KZ, a Birrell car just in front, and you're going to see that my pace is actually quite strong compared to his, and we're going to be right on this gearbox again, and we're going to go down the inside into this corner here, and you're going to see me just pull away slightly. So overall our pace is better than it was before, and I think the new frame has definitely made a difference to that. So overall it's going good, and as you can see, another car in front, so hopefully we're going to get him in a second as well. So now again you're going to see my pace through this part of the track, and we're going to catch right onto the rear of him as he just has a bit of a slip of oversteer, and we are going to go past him again, and look at the gap we're pulling. So overall the pace is actually very strong in this session, which is definitely good. Now the first spinner of this session has actually got finally back onto a track, and as you can see he's just in front of me on that Charles Leclerc kart, I believe, and we're actually going to go down the inside, a bit of a send here, down the inside into turn 1, and we're going to get the move done again. And the checker flag came out, and that was it for the first session. There was a kart stuck here, I'm not fully sure what he was doing, but that was it for the first session. So we just finished the first session. As you can see, there wasn't much grip on the track. Obviously this track ain't been used in about a month, so that was sort of expected. A lot of yellow flags, as you saw, a lot of incidents. A bit unusual for a KZ session, although I think there's a lot of beginners here today, so yeah. Overall though, kart felt well and we survived, which is the best thing. Right, so we've got about 40 minutes till we're out again, and as you can see, raindrops are starting to collect all on my windshield, so maybe it's going to be a wet session. Hoping it's not, but if it is, there's nothing we can do about it. Obviously good practice in the wet. So luckily the rain did hold out, and now we are into the second session. We are second in the pit lane, and as you can see in front of us there is a couple new karts, and the green flag is about to be waved. We've got Charlie Turner behind us, and the green flag is going out. We're going to go out in third actually, and we're just going to go past Zilvis on the Sodi kart, and then we've got this Tony kart in front. We are going to try and pass now, going full lock, trying to just warm up these tyres, but we are going to pass him down the straight there. So we are actually going to lead the start of this session. Now if you take a look at my helmet, you're actually going to see the top of my wing sort of just shaking around, which isn't good, and you're going to see in a second both of them actually fall off. But for now, let's focus on the driving. So going on to the first lap now, and we do have a comfortable gap, and however there is already yellow flags out, which means there must have been a spinner up at the first corner. However the green flag is out there, which was a bit confusing. However, we have a nice comfortable gap, a big gap in fact, to the karts behind. As you can see, the wing is actually going to fall off here, so that's not good. I didn't actually notice this, and now I've just got the front red moustache on the top of my helmet. So fast forward another lap, and you're actually going to see my front wing come off down the straight here. If we zoom in a bit closer, you are going to see that just fly off again. I didn't really notice this at first, however you will see me looking for it in a second. So rounding this corner now, and you're going to see my hand, and I'm just going to be thinking, where has my chin spoiler gone? And at this point I didn't realise the rear one was gone. I just thought the front one came off, as it did look a bit loose before the session. It's not the biggest of issues. It did actually increase the amount of headwinds I felt, but I don't think that made a difference to pace overall. Just it felt a bit more physical. So this session was actually quite boring, but as you can see, this guy is actually going to let me past, coming down the straight, and you're going to see the gap I can pull out of this corner. So overall it's going quite well, but really this was quite a boring session, as nothing really happened at all, to be honest. And I believe this is the last couple of laps now. Now the checker flag back out, so we're going to come into the pits again, and that was the end of session 2. Right, so second session we just completed. Honestly, the pace is actually quite good. there's a couple of the faster drivers running in, but at the moment we are probably one of the fastest on track, which is a first. Unfortunately, maybe I was too fast for the wings as they both fell off. So now I've got just like a bowling ball for a helmet for the rest of the day, but that's alright. Bring on the next session. Session 3 now, feeling a bit more confident, putting me first out of the pit lane, and the green flag is going to be out. We're going to see the gap that we can pull out of the pit lane now. Warming up the tyres a bit. Obviously the tyres on the KZ seem to take a lot more effort to warm up compared to the Maxi Sports or the Mojos that we used to run in the Rotax. So fast forward a couple laps, and this is actually quite a boring session. And coming down the straight here, you're actually going to see me adjust my brake bar. It's not my favourite thing to do, putting my hand about a centimetre from the floor, coming down the straight about 90 miles per hour. But I did want to try and get more rear brakes, as my front brakes always wanted to pull to the left in this session. However, we did actually end up changing this now. This is now Tuesday. This was Saturday when we were recording this. We replaced the full brake fluid, which did mean that we could now brake properly, hopefully. Now onto the rear end of this blue supercar again, and we're going to go down the inside here, and it's going to be a bit tight, but the acceleration out the corner of the KZ is just going to make us charge down the straight past him at about 90 miles per hour. Later in the session we did also encounter another 2 KZs, which we're actually going to just fly past down the straight as we pass one, and then the other moves over to let me pass again. So that's an extra 2 places up. Couple laps later and the checker flag came out, which meant we had to pit, and really there was nothing else that happened anyway. It's quite a boring session, as I said. In front of me is actually one of the fastest supercars. As you can see, there's a massive rear wing on it, kind of intimidating. However, we didn't encounter him in that session. However, I believe we will be later. Alright, first session done now. It's improving over time. I think there's a lot of setup changes that we need to do. But yeah, it was quite a boring session really. The pace is looking alright, but apart from that, it was just a pretty basic session. So into session 4 now, and this is definitely one of the more interesting sessions of the day, this and session 5. And as you can see, to the right of me is Charlie Turner, the British champion, and behind him is Nat Thomas, the person who I'm actually fighting for 10th place in the British Kart Championships. And 10th place is quite important for me, as that can get me the seeded number 10, and that means I get to run it next season in the British Kart Championships. Now coming out of the pit lane obviously, and I am actually leading this session, but you're going to see Charlie Turner, being the British champion, he's going to send it from all the way back there, and he is actually going to pass me down that fast corner at the end of that fast straight, and you're going to see him gradually pull away in this session. He's got some different lines. The tyres are still cold, to be fair, but obviously he is a British champion and he's a very fast driver, of course, so he is going to pull away. As you can see, he's just going nice and tight around the outside of that, into that corner, and yeah, you're going to see him slowly pull away. Well, I say slowly, quite quickly actually. Now we're going to be going down the straight for the second time this session at about 90 miles per hour, and hopefully there is no Charlie Turner to pass me this time. But in front we do have a slower car, and then we're just trying to navigate past, and there we have that supercar we saw in the end of last session, and he's going to go down the inside of me, and behind him is Nat Thomas, my championship rival for 10th place. And this is where the battle is going to be quite on, as he is on a different kart to what he used to be on. He used to be on with the Jade Birrell kart, now he's gone to Maranello, which is Charlie Turner's team. He's looking very fast out there. He is the faster driver out of us two. I've just got pretty lucky with the points. However, the fight is still on, and I think my pace has definitely improved since the start of British Champs. As you can see though, he is just braking a bit later, and he's going to go down the inside of me here, and now I'm going to try and follow him and just see what lines he does, and see if I can, stay on his foot. And you're actually going to see that I sort of can. in this session. So although the car in front of Nat is actually faster than us down the straight, we are sort of faster through the corner, so we got big acceleration. Although I am going to look down the inside of Nat because of this. However, I just can't seem to brake hard enough as he can. But that does mean that we sort of lose a bit of time to him. However, we are still hanging on a lap later, which is sort of an improvement from what it used to be like, where any driver in the British Championship would be able to pull away about 2 seconds per lap. Now I am on his foot, which is, you know, a big improvement since 3 months ago when I first stepped in the KZ. But here he is down the inside of the supercar, and there we go. I'm going to follow him through. I believe he's let us pass. However, Nat has sort of got a bit of a gap now. I'm sort of pushing, to be honest. I do want to try and catch up to him and keep on his pace, although that can be very tough as he's an experienced KZ driver compared to me being in the kart 3 months. Now skipping forward about 4 laps, you can actually see he's still just there in the distance. I mean, he's pulled a bit of a gap. However, I've been able to maintain this quite well, especially negotiating traffic. So I think there's definitely been a big improvement to where he used to pull like 20 seconds in the British Championships, which is quite a positive thing to take away from today. We still have one more session to go, and as you can see, I'm just locking up into that corner now, sort of getting a bit more confident. The brakes were a bit dodgy this day, however we have sorted that out now, hopefully. But yeah, as you can see, he's just there, not miles away, and as the checker flag comes out, we're going to finish that session not miles away from him. As you can see, we've sort of maintained the gap to him. He's been able to pull away, but then we've been able to keep that time, the distance between him. We've been able to sort of match that, which is a positive thing to take away from today. So we just completed the 4th session now, and overall it was a very good session. I mean, it wasn't sort of just driving, we were sort of battling with Nat in the Maranello kart. So overall that was quite a good session, and we were sort of keeping on pace with him, which was obviously different to at British Champs where he used to be quite a lot faster than me. So overall we're showing quite good improvement, and yeah, it's looking like it's going to be close at Three Sisters, hopefully. So final session now, and as you're going to see, pulling up alongside me here on the front row is that supercar that we've seen in various sessions before, sort of just lurking around, being, you know, very fast, but we've not really had to encounter him much, which is sort of a good thing since it looks kind of scary with that massive wing on the rear end and the metal side pods and rear bumper. However, it's going to be a race at the pit lane, as you're about to see. If you can see the marshal over by the supercar, you're going to see the flag's about to go green, the revs are rising, sort of like a race start, and already getting the power down. You can hear the wheel spin, and we are actually away, and we've pulled quite a big gap from the rest of the karts, which is you know, it doesn't really mean much. However, for me it felt like kind of a race in this position. So leading about 15 karts out of the pit lane, about 15 kz should I say, out of the pit lane, and yeah, you can really see how I've gained confidence from being scared to even start at the front to now driving off at the front and not having an issue about it. So I think definitely there's been a lot of improvements, just mentally and physically, gaining strength to drive this car as it is very physical. However, there are also yellow flags out already, as I believe there's someone broke it down on the inside, if you can just see that there. So it's starting off to be an eventful first session, and you can see I'm sort of getting more used to the chassis, definitely driving a lot faster, sort of driving like I've stole it, as some might say. And I think definitely the new chassis that Josh Price actually gave it to me for free has definitely made a big improvement compared to the old one. And looking back at the footage, it's definitely seemed to grip more into the corners. We are sort of still struggling with oversteer, and it's sort of still pulling to the left. However, the brake thing hopefully is sorted, and oversteer hopefully should be sorted with a different axle, as the axle is actually very old in this video. However, we have changed that ready for Kim Bolton this weekend. fast forward a lap, and as you can see just in the distance there is a bit of traffic that we're going to hopefully close up to quite soon, as we don't really want to compromise any more laps than we need to. And I believe in front there is that supercar that we have overtaken in the past, and also KZ in front of him. But as you can see, we're heading down the straight 90 miles per hour, and you're going to see us really catch up and really show how our pace is definitely looking stronger than when we first went here on my first ever test day in the KZ. If you remember that video, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And as you can see, we have already caught them up, and now we are behind the SC plate, and we're going to go down the inside of the first KZ. And yeah, as I was saying, the SC plate in front of me, who has won round here, I'm presuming, the Forest Edge SC plate, and we're going to go down the inside of him, and it's sort of going to work. I think he's sort of given up. He don't really want to sit behind me any longer. And in front, I can't even see the other KZ. It seems to have disappeared. However, we should catch him up shortly, providing my pace is just as good as it's been so far. Now fast forward another lap, and you're going to see behind me is Charlie Turner on that Maranello, and he's just going to be sitting behind me into this corner. You're just going to see on the right of my screen, you're going to see that O plate of the British champion, and he's going to be sort of just sitting behind me, sort of a bit intimidated by him. However, he's going to send it down the inside. We're going to stick behind him, and you know, there's this thing in you that just makes you want to just send it on him, and luckily I did not do that, because that probably would have ended badly. And you're going to see the gap he is pulling, obviously showing how he deserves to be a British champion, I believe a multiple British champion. And in front of him is that white helmet KZ that I've been looking for before, and we did seem to lose a couple laps ago. And he's going to spin it in, as you can see, a cloud of smoke, and he is off. Definitely was not expecting that to happen. Was planning an overtake into this next corner in my mind, setting him up. However, we did not need to in the end, as he did obviously spin it up there on that top corner. A very scary corner to spin on, and definitely scary for me. Although it may have looked far away, it definitely did scare me a bit, seeing that cloud of smoke suddenly. Now we're going to be rounding for the final time this corner, and now the final corner for the final time, as the checker flag comes out just before I get a chance to overtake these people in front. However, that was definitely a decent session again, and just behind me again was actually Nat Thomas. So although you couldn't see that, he was behind me. He did catch up to me, however, but didn't pass me, which is good. We're getting faster, which is definitely promising. That was the final session of this day, so let's go and recall what happened today. Overall, it was a very good day, obviously on the new frame for the first time. Nothing fell off, which was the best thing, and it was quite surprising, to be honest, with how new frames normally go. I was quite surprised that everything did stay together, although we did look at it before. That's all today, guys, though. Thanks for watching, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.